This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Mapper Forward's first on-demand workshop, How to Become a Coffee Consultant. Available now online for you to learn at your own pace with a certificate available upon completion. Click the link in the show notes to access today for just €50. Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and this is episode 4 of a 5-part series where we are talking about HR in the coffee workplace. Now, Shivaun, we have been focusing in the first 3 episodes mostly on the employer. In this episode, we're going to talk about the employee and things from the employee's perspective. The pandemic did a really interesting thing in the workplace. It redistributed the power dynamic more evenly across, I guess, the employer-employee relationship. And it was really interesting to watch that happen because all of a sudden, employers were so heavily dependent and aware of how dependent they are on their employees. And so that gave employees kind of a voice that they didn't have before. So talk to me about the way that we can look at HR from the employee's perspective.
Yeah, I think, and we touched on this when we talked about culture, but, we talk about the employee experience. And as we commented, I think generation ago didn't matter, right? Here was the job, you did it or you didn't do it. Now that they have a seat at the table in a way, and they have a viewpoint in terms of will they accept the job with your brand that you have on offer. So employee experience and the workplace experience has become really important to individuals in terms of them deciding to join, your business and help you grow your business, if you like. So we've seen that real shift. And what it means is, I think, for you as business owners, even having some kind of HR strategy or policy, don't overwork it and don't complicate it. But even having that, I think, shows that you give a shit about your people, right? Just having that in existence and having that mindset where you respect company culture and what that means to you, where you think about your employees in terms of what motivates them and what's their why. Even just having that approach and that mindset shows to them you care about people. And you do care about people because we all know it's one of your biggest cost line items. So you want to care about them, not just because they cost you a lot of money, but because how much value they can bring to you and your brand. So it's sort of shifting that mindset to recognize it, and just simply acknowledging the importance of your people sets you on the right road. Not just am I paying them correctly, but here's what we can offer, here's what the experience is, and here's what it means to work for our brand.
So tell me, how does a small business owner approach kind of laying that out for themselves? What are the questions they should ask themselves?
Look, I think have a think about what you want employees to experience when they work in your business. And I talked about this in an earlier episode. Reflect on your own personal experiences. Think about, and if we're talking about casual workforce, think about what that was like for you when you had that casual job. Did you care? Did you just go because you needed to pay your rent, or you were at uni and wanted to go traveling? And particular skill sets. So baristas, unique individuals, and I can say that to Lee. And if that's your background,
every chance to take a dig. Every chance to take a dig, she'll take it. This is what people have friends for, folks.
And I know, and I say that respectfully, but it is a specific skill set. And as I said before, it is very transferable. They can go to the next cafe down the road and walk in and say, this is what I can do, and here's what I need. So just reflecting on your own experience and thinking about, and don't get me wrong, this is not all about, it sounds as if I'm saying pander to your employees' needs. I'm not. I'm saying, again, at the front end, perhaps as part of your HR or your people, call it a people strategy. It sounds wanky, but let's call it for what it is, right? They're the talent in your business. Think about how you want them to experience work. And, it's some little tests. Look at your staff when they turn up at start time, okay? It's probably 2 or 3 different people. The person that starts at 11 a.m. that walks in at 10:59, puts their bag in the drawer and they're ready. It's the person that works in at 11, then gets changed and, then there's the person that might come a quarter to 11. They see it's busy, so they jump on the tools. Look at the small behaviors. This is not about having big strategies and tactical. Look at your people, look at their behaviors, look at their individual actions, and look at how they have a sense of team. And I mean, one of the biggest things that's been my greatest challenge, and I had a personal experience with it today in a retail store, was employees not giving a shit. All I want is for my employees to care as much as I do, And I mean, we used to say this about pizza, but think about coffee. You might make a few hundred coffees this morning, okay?
Yeah.
You make only one for me. So if it's bad, it's 100% shit.
Yeah.
Right? You made a couple of hundred, so you don't care. That's a failure rate of, 1%, less than.
Yeah.
It's
but it's 100%
disappointment for me.
Yeah. I love that perspective.
And coffee, okay, it was $4. Maybe it was more because it was public holiday, but it was $4. So I go, I'll give them another chance. For pizza, we were charging $25.
Yeah.
Look at them. You have to work for an hour to earn that money to buy one pizza, and it was shit.
Yeah.
So it's that. And that's where, if you get employee engagement right, if you get the culture right, and you've got the hygiene stuff all good down the bottom, you're paying them properly, scheduling, all the rest.
Mm-hmm.
It just, everything comes together and it just works. And it means if their morale is good, your customer, remember we talked about the customer is a huge part of the coffee process because we're not all ordering Uber Eats. It makes for a better experience for everyone. And you get, when you walk into a place, and we talked about this, Lee, and you get a sense for what it's like for the workers and to work there. And so my biggest challenge is how to have them care. And I think having them, getting those things right, like culture and engagement, having them care about the brand, the product, particularly in coffee. The product is your everything. If your product shit, you've got nothing. You can have the best company culture, but if the product sucks, you're not going to get people walking in that door. So having them care about that and the output and having pride, it comes back to their why. But I think it's just sort of stopping and thinking about it and think from personal experience, what's the experience you want them to have when they come to work, and setting that expectation in terms of, clarity of expectation around performance, and here's how I expect things to be done, and consistency. You've got to be consistent in your response to crisis or otherwise.
A lot of the time, and you saw this from every cafe that you came to that I worked at, the barista is a part of the product. Like, it's a performance. It's hands down, especially here in a country like Australia, where baristas really do govern the experience that the customer has. So we get asked a lot in consulting, how do I stop my employees from getting trained here and going off and using those skills to the first person that comes and poaches them? And a lot of the time my response is, you're looking at it the wrong way. Find out what's going to keep your employees here. Like, ask yourself, what does the employee need, rather than what do you need? What are your thoughts on that?
It's what we talked about. It's what's their why. You will find the self-driven person. I mean, you talk to fellow business owners, entrepreneurs. Think about, and you and I have had this discussion before, Lee, our own personal experiences. I mean, I started as a dishwasher. I wanted to be the best dishwasher on course. And I was the fastest. I did the biggest functions. And it's finding, that's the challenge of attracting the right people, and particularly in this industry, because it's a more transient workforce. It's not necessarily a career workforce, say for some of your baristas. Getting that right, is the challenge. Like, we when we used to recruit in the pizza shops, there was 2 bars to cross to get a trial. You had to turn up to your interviews on time. More than half didn't.
I mean,
on time.
Go on.
Gone. The second one is you had to sweep the floor. So you were given a broom, and because it's a place of food, right? Hygiene is incredibly important. Everyone needs to know how to sweep the floor, regardless of your role. Some people wouldn't know how to hold a broom, like watching people eat cutlery that don't know how to hold cutlery properly. The way people hold a broom, or they just do what they can see. Don't sweep under the table. Don't sweep under the bench. Those 2 tests got you through to a trial, because I can teach anyone the skills they need to work in our business, right? So it's finding that right cultural fit, someone with the right attitude, you know, capabilities you can build, skills you can build, experience you can provide, but find someone that gives a shit and has the right attitude and, you know, wants to be part of something, and you're on your way.
And I guess if you're an employee listening to this, that those are the markers that you should be going for, right? Like, am I working at a place that's looking for those kinds of things from me? And if they're not, maybe I'm not working at the right place. Like, are they giving me what I need, right?
And what are you a part of? You know, like it's, I reflect on, again, it's probably generational, but there was a time where you'd employ people that had worked at McDonald's because you knew they could stick to a process, they could work in a high pressure environment. Anyone that had McDonald's on their resume earlier in our careers, tick, right? Now, I don't know whether people necessarily walk with pride that they work for McDonald's, but, you know, it came with that
systematization.
That's it, right? And even now, like, you want, as an employee, you want to be proud of who you work for. And I mean, I truly believe that that IBM will change the world for the better. I really believe that, and I still do, even as a former employee. And you've got to believe there's something bigger there to keep you going back and wanting to give more. And okay, it's just your weekend job. It's just paying you through uni, but it's hours of your life. Make it meaningful.
Yeah. And it's changed. Now people, like, it is a legitimate profession. I remember when I left IBM and you all thought, like, she'll be back. And I'm like, no, I'm doing this for good. And you're like, yeah, she'll be back. No problem. And I didn't. That was 20 years ago. And you just, I mean, look at the career that I've made out of it and what has happened from that. It's a legitimate, I was a barista for 15 years, folks. 15 years, and it was the best job I've ever had, other than what I'm doing now. But it really was the best job I've ever had. And when I left IBM, I called up Shivaun and I said, I can't believe I get paid to do this job. I can't believe they're paying me to do this. So it's one of those things where find a job somewhere that you're going to have that kind of excitement for working for a company. You are their biggest asset. You want to make sure that they appreciate you as much as you appreciate the job. So now in the next episode, we're going to talk about my favorite thing to talk about, which is communication. This is easily the episode that I've been looking forward to the most in this series. And I'm going to tell a story in the next episode of when Shivaun started shining for me when it came to communication. So join us for the last episode of this series, folks. Peace, love, and peanut butter. Have an amazing rest of your day. Thanks for tuning in, friends. There are 2 ways you can support this podcast. Firstly, become a paid member of our YouTube channel. Secondly, you can join our Patreon for as little as $3 a month. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video before you leave, and check the show notes for more information. Now, this is what you should check out next.